Hey everyone, this is Tosca from Tosca Coaching and Consulting, and I'm so glad you're here with me this Friday. I know it's 5 o'clock. This is later than I usually do it, but I just had a kind of crazy schedule. So today I'm going to talk about breakthroughs. That's right. Hey bro, thanks for joining. So good to see you here. Wow. That's right. I'm talking about breakthroughs. And this is because, right, like sometimes the breakthroughs that we want so badly in our life don't necessarily come packaged the way that we want it. And actually, Ro, I'm thinking about you and I'm like, wow, yeah, like I think about your breakthrough and the business that you launched years ago. And I'm sitting here going, wow, I wonder what it took for you to get to that point to really embrace this fitness business that you launched, besides your day jobs, like your side hustle, right? If I'm up to date, but correct me if I'm wrong. So you know, and I'm a breakthrough coach, right? With the goal of really helping my clients push through whatever it is they need to push through to accomplish what they want to accomplish. But I'm also really, really passionate about breakthroughs because I've been on my own journey, right, of breaking through my own barriers, my own stuckness. Like, it makes me think of a conversation I had with my very first coach. I remember being on the phone with her, and I had been working with her for a couple of years, I think, at that point. And I remember being in the conference room at my job, and I was like, oh my God, like, I'm so sick of having the same conversations, like with myself, like with her, you know, like it was just this moment of like, how do I effing break through the patterns and the cycles that I was in? And I think when people get to that point where like you had enough, you make a different choice. And sometimes it comes because you know you're trying to make a change and you choose to make a different choice. But I think what a lot of people do is they end up waiting until like just things explode to make changes. And my hope is that we do this less and less. Like we wait, that we stop waiting for like everything to come to the climax before we say, okay, fine, I'm gonna like do this thing differently, you know? So a couple things about breakthroughs. Let's just lay it down real quick before I get into like some storytelling, because I wanted to tell some stories about breakthroughs today. First of all, I wrote a couple notes. Look, they're not linear, right? Can you just like let that sink in for a minute? That breakthroughs are not linear. That it will rarely be the case where you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to do A, B, and C, and then step D will be my breakthrough. Like, good luck with that. I'm just saying, like, don't set that expectation. It ain't going to happen. Hey, Sharon, nice to see you here. Wow, excited for my guests. And I guess the next thing I would say is, breakthroughs happen the minute that you make a decision that is different than the decisions that you've made in the past. Those can be really big and those can be really small, right? You can make a decision not to pick up the phone from someone who you know will be an instant trigger the moment you pick it up. If in the past you have always picked up that phone no matter what you're doing, to make the choice to not pick it up in that moment, that's a breakthrough, because you chose something different. You chose you in that moment. You chose to hold your boundaries. You chose to protect your energy. And even though it might seem really simple, well, I didn't answer the call, and you might even beat yourself up over it after the fact, it still doesn't preclude the fact that you had a breakthrough. And so part of it is celebrating those breakthroughs, right? Is saying, oh my gosh, yeah, I made a different decision. And it was uncomfortable, and I'm going to honor that. And these little decisions, even these little ones, like this example of not picking up the phone, can change your entire trajectory. They really can. They really can, because what will happen is the next time that phone call comes in, you'll feel just a little bit more comfortable not answering it. So this is good. This is awesome stuff. Okay, what else about breakthroughs? They can also be huge, right? Breakthroughs can be huge, and you can also not even acknowledge it or feel it in the moment. They can also be huge, and you can see it and acknowledge it in the moment. So part of breakthroughs and experiencing breakthroughs and calling in more breakthroughs in your life involves awareness. You know, I was just speaking with someone today, and they actually had quite a big journey to get to the point where they sent an email out to their network to share an offering that they were putting together. And that was a huge journey for that person. It took them a long time and a lot of inner work to get to the point where they acknowledged, A, this is what they want to do, B, they wanted to re-engage their audience, C, you know, they figured out all the logistics. You know, it was a big to do. And I know from my own experience that sometimes the minute something that's really hard is over, we just immediately dismiss it, right? Like after you graduate, did you dismiss? You just spent 4 years doing the thing? Or after you took a certificate program, were you like, wasn't a big deal, even though like you spent hours studying and like you were stressed out you freaking wazoo for like all the pop quizzes and tests? Like, yeah, like, so I think part of it is giving ourselves permission to acknowledge those breakthroughs that we're having. And that acknowledgement is important because it just attracts more and more of what you're looking for. And this reminds me of a conversation I had with Coach Kaya this week on Talk About It Tuesday. So if you missed that, you should definitely check that out. What else? What else about breakthroughs? Oh, yeah, you can't force anybody else to have a breakthrough. Even if you feel like they're right on the edge, you can't push them. You can't push them off the ledge ever, right? It's always, you know, you can plant seeds again if it's not coming from your ego, but it's coming from a place of goodness and like, oh my, like I had this intuitive thought that if I planted a seed that could be helpful. But we don't know what's best for anybody. We don't. You want to sit there and tell yourself you know exactly what your mother needs? No, you don't. Only they know what they need. So, you know, part of it, especially being a coach, is like, sorry, I'm getting my tea ready over here. Tea before wine on Friday. How's that sound? Hydrate and then dehydrate. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, you know, part of being a coach is like that I have to accept that I really don't know what is in the best interest of my client. I can use my intuition, and I can definitely have a sense of from my own experience of things, but I will never know what is best for their path, and I just have to honor that. And we have to do that with each other. Otherwise, that's how people get triggered when you're like, you know what you should do. That's the other reason why you hire a coach, because like what you don't want is your friends to tell you what you should do when you're really, really in the search of a breakthrough. I mean, yeah, anyway, I digress. So, okay. So this leads me to, I want to share an example of a breakthrough that for me was really huge and also ever present. And well, it felt like it was like so out of the blue. it wasn't really. So several years ago, when I had hit that time where I was like, oh my God, like my life needs to change. When I was working in corporate, and I was just sick of the same old shit over and over and over again for myself, right? I'm not blaming anybody. It was just myself and my reactions to things and all that stuff. And what I did was I said, you know what? I need a breakthrough for myself. And that's what we're talking about today for those who just joined. I was looking for a breakthrough for myself, and I said, okay, that means I have to do something different. And so I did something very different, and I tried something called craniosacral therapy. And we're gonna talk to somebody who does that in a couple of weeks. I'm so excited. And actually the woman that helped me through this. I said, okay, I'm gonna try it. I don't know anything about it, but I was, somebody had recommended it. Somebody I trusted, my coach recommended it. I was like, fine, I'm gonna give it a try. So I had an appointment, and it was amazing. It was like, oh wow, this is so different. I didn't know what to expect. I also decided to go to a retreat by myself, which I had never done, right? So this was another different type of decision than I usually make. At that point, right? Like I didn't like to go do things by myself. It was a retreat that didn't really share the whole agenda. So you're just like, what's going on? But I went. So here I was in this retreat trying to break through my own shit. And we had this exercise where we had to like write out our story over the course of a couple days. This was like a weekend retreat, right? So you're stewing for 2 days, literally, on like your life story. And for me, there was like a lot of hurt and a lot of pain in my life, especially the earlier part of my life. And so I was ruminating over this. And then we had to share our stories very, very privately with like 2 other people. Yeah, hello, uncomfortable. Who wants to do that? Here, let me tell you about my stories. And, most of them are, shit or really hard, or whatever. But I share my stories. And here's where there's kind of 2 parts of this breakthrough. So I shared my story, and I was very emotional about it, and I was upset because I've been ruminating over it. And what happens is our bodies don't know the difference between when we're experiencing something and when we're like thinking about it and we're putting ourselves in that situation. Your body thinks it's happening to you right there. Like there's scientific proof for this. It's really fascinating. So it was kind of like I was in the energy and in the experience and the muck of some of the things that I have been through in my life for like 2 days, which was really, really hard. And so some of these things, just to contextualize it, right, was part of my story, my truth, I should say, is that like I had at least a dozen surgeries in my life, from the time I was, born until about 20, I think, I was 21, 22 when I had my last surgery related to my birth defective cleft lip and palate. And, that was my life experience where I knew nothing else other than I had a whole bunch of surgeries and went through that stuff. And I was sitting in the circle telling my story to 2 people. And one of them was a woman who had been a nurse in a war. I mean, she was like in her 70s, right? So I was the last one in the circle of 3 to tell our stories and go through it and process it. And she had seen war trauma, right? Like she had triaging people right on the front lines. I mean, like this woman was like a warrior. I was just like, holy shit, man, this is amazing. So I tell my story. You know what she said? You know what happens? I stop. We pause, and she looks at me and she says, "You're a survivor." That's what she said to me. Let me tell you, my fucking world pardon my French, it blew open in that moment. And do you know why my life blew open in that moment, in that one statement that this woman said who I didn't know from a hill of beans? It changed because it was in that moment that I gave myself permission to acknowledge my traumas in my life. Because until that moment, I would always say to myself, the stuff that I've been through, whatever, like people have been through so much worse, right? Like, this is like nothing in comparison, right? Like I live in a first world country. I had surgeons that were like, like I'm alive, like, a lot of the stuff was cosmetic related. Of course, there was also a lot of functional stuff, but like, so I just diminished my experience. And because I was able to acknowledge my trauma, that just broke open the rest of my life for healing and really honoring my experiences so that I could see them clearly and give myself compassion. And then from there, so I was like mentally, right, like, oh, wow, if this woman, right, who has seen war and triage and trauma can honestly look me in the eye and say, you're a survivor, like mentally, right, that opened me up to that acknowledgement. And then it was literally like that same day I had a craniosacral therapy appointment, and woo, the energy of that trauma that was like held in my body, I had an insanely huge release energetically. And some of this may sound crazy to you guys. Like if you've never heard of craniosacral therapy, or if you don't know what I'm talking about, like energy in my body, what I mean is like our bodies remember everything, right? That our mind can't even remember, right? Like our bodies know stuff about things that we went through, even though like we may have buried it or we can't remember it, right? Of the times before we were even, can have memories. And so I believe, and there's a lot of science around this, right? That all the trauma, right, that I've been through, all the cells that were storing a lot of information about my experience needed to let go. And that experience in this retreat and with this craniosacral person, therapist, was able to really help me in releasing, and all of that was just a big breakthrough, right? But I share that story and then, that's a big example of like a breakthrough that was like emotional, that was mental. It was very visible. It was, I could recognize it in the moment. But there's so many other kinds of breakthroughs. And at the end of the day, and I hope you're listening real close, at the end of the day, what enables breakthroughs is our ability to make a different choice in the moment. And what enables us to make a different choice is the awareness that we need to make a different choice in order to be a better version of ourselves, in order to honor ourselves, in order to change our trajectory. So, we're in this moment of time where I think there's a lot of people feeling stuck, wanting a change for themselves. And it can be really small changes or it can be really big changes. It can be, I want to lose these few pounds I gained in coronavirus, to like, I want a career that lights me up and that doesn't drain me like my current one, right? And the breakthroughs are entirely possible despite everything going on in the world, because breakthroughs only rely upon one thing, and that is you. That is you and your willingness to do the work. You and your willingness to be aware. You and your willingness to question the kinds of decisions you're making right now and ask yourself, does this serve me? Because the patterns and the habits that we have are because they come from times and places where those actions served us. And what happens is we get to the points where that doesn't serve us anymore. And we have to be willing and able to see that and then make a different choice. So for example, in the moment that I shared, right, when the woman said I was a warrior, I had a choice to make. I could either continue what I had been doing my entire life, which was deny my own experience, or I could accept and see that actually there was something that needed to be honored there that I had not honored up until that point. So, wow, this is like, this is heavy stuff for like 5 o'clock on Friday. But part of the reason why I wanted to talk about breakthroughs, well, of course, because the context of everything right now is just giving people hope and knowing that breakthrough is entirely possible for you, but also, because I've had my own experience over the past couple of months, I would say, where I felt, right, a big stuckness, and I had to, and I feel like I'm in this moment of breakthrough for myself, which I'm super celebrating and excited about. But I will say that it didn't come in the timeline that I wanted, and it didn't come looking like what I thought maybe a breakthrough would look like. So I think we have to honor and look at things from different angles in order to really give ourselves credit for like what we're doing in our lives. Because the truth is that I don't care who you are, you have probably had to make some adjustments in your life over the past 8 months. And I'm gonna guess that you can find an example of something you broke through because of the moment we're in. And I actually invite you to like reflect on that. Actually, I shouldn't use the word invite. Invite is like such a coaching word. I am gonna say that if you want to find the good in the past 8 months, then ask yourself, what things have you broken through in the past few months that maybe you haven't been giving yourself credit for? Maybe you broke through the idea that work has to be 9 to 5. Maybe you look, and whether by force or by choice, right? Regardless, you broke through it, right? So just honor it and be aware of it. Maybe you broke through the concern you had with cooking. Maybe you figured out how to make mac and cheese that you never made before. Maybe you learned how to make bread. Clearly, a lot of people learn how to make bread over the past 8 months. I would say that's a breakthrough. I personally am not one of them. I did not bake a sourdough bread over the coronavirus, but there's still time apparently. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, I love this mug. It makes me happy. So, yeah, I don't know. What else is there about breakthroughs? What do you want to break through? Message me. DM me. Write a comment on this. Let me know what it is you're dealing with that you want to break through. I would love to know, because you know what? I'm happy to talk about that stuff. I can do it in another Feisty on Friday, or, some other format, or I can go back and forth with you, whatever. We can get on a call and talk about what you're trying to break through. Because in my opinion, if we are willing to get uncomfortable and do the work to truly break through, that's where we can ensure that we are living our potential. We're living to the fullest. We're giving ourselves the best chance at being happy. And you know, and I think that's like my mantra, right? Like, I want to leave nothing on the table when I leave this earth. And um, I want to see how far I can go. You know, I don't mean like, financially in success. I mean like, how far can I stretch myself to do awesome things, to have a phenomenal impact in the world? And in order to discover that, I know that I need to constantly be breaking through, like break through the wall and break through the wall and break through the wall. And as soon as I think all the walls are gone, nope, there'll be another one. I want to break through that one too, but they'll get easier to break through. One of my favorite songs, if you're stuck, if you're feeling like you're in a rut, please listen to Rihanna's song Sledgehammer. Oh my God, that song brings me like so much strength and power, to know that like I can break through the walls, and so can you. And so can you. And if your inner critic is in your head right now saying, well, you're never going to do that. You're never going to do that thing. Like you've been trying for 10 years. What I'm saying is it's freaking possible to break through, to get out of whatever rut you're in. It is, and I'm not going to say it's about, the will of it. It's about having the courage to have the awareness. To have the awareness of the behavior of the thing, and then, then having the courage to make a different choice the next time you run into it. Point blank. I'm just going to write a book, and that's all I'm going to say. That's the only thing I'm going to put in there. Number 1, awareness. Number 2, make a different decision each time you are confronted with that situation that you want to change. Yeah. So, that's what I got for this Feisty on Friday. We talked about breakthroughs. We talked about how they look different. They can be big, they can be small. You can be unaware of them, or you can be aware of them. And I'm just encouraging you to take a look. To take a look, not only what you have broken through, but where in your life do you want to break through? And journal on it, whatever. You'll find some answers. If you really take the time to journal, you'll find some answers about what to do about that breakthrough. And you can always reach out to me, and I'm happy to give you some thoughts, some support in whatever you want to break through. You can find out more about me at toscadimateo.com, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Feisty on Friday. Ciao for now.